You're probably here because you're finding it a little bit difficult and finding your way about leadership, finding your way on how to manage people well, and finding your way on how to grow your business as an entrepreneur. Any one of these things are the topics that we cover. I'm your host, Sean C., aka Mr. CEO at 22. I am so glad that you took the first step of being here to learn more about leadership, entrepreneurship, and management because the world needs more people like you. We will help you to invest in yourself because that's something that is worth doing. That is something that is worth learning. If you have questions about entrepreneurship, maybe you're having problems at work or you're having some leadership problems or managing other people, boy, I have news for you. We have what we call a masterclass. Most of the courses in the masterclass deal with how you can generate revenue online. It deals with leadership, how to lead in crisis, how to break through the crisis in business, in entrepreneurship, and how you can manage other people better. Now, I always say the best kind of investment is an investment in yourself. And how much money are we charging for this masterclass? Not a lot. And if you invest in one, it's yours to keep. And if it doesn't, I'll refund you, no questions asked, full refund. So why don't you try it out? Head on over to sean.c/masterclass and check out any one of the courses if it fits any one of the questions in your head. And if you have any questions, you can just put it on the comment section and we'll get in touch with you. We want to know who you are and we want to hear from you. Until then, keep leading. Okay, we are now broadcasting from Facebook, YouTube, and of course Discord, where the questions are. And I'm just gonna jump right to it. It's 8:04 p.m. We have a couple of questions right here, and it is the first ones are from Patrick. I don't know if we're gonna have more questions, but so far it's all from Patrick Miguel, and these are very interesting and very difficult questions, actually. So, the first one would be, what are the 5 things you do to make sure you are ahead from your business competitors? Well, actually, the first thing that I think would give a CEO or a founder an edge over competition would be how he or she leads himself or herself. Because leadership is about influence, as John Maxwell says. It is also about continuous learning, reinventing, challenging yourself, adapting to times, initiative. It's a lot of things. Eh? And if leadership is a lot of things, then the leader not moving or not doing enough, delikado yun eh. It's going to make you fall behind. And when you're falling behind, not just from your competition, but from yourself, from other leaders out there, or from who you were before when you were leading the team with gusto, with more initiative. You have to make sure that you are continuously learning, you are continuously in reinventing yourself as a leader. That's what I think. When you become so complacent as a leader, because maybe, I don't know, maybe you have a big team already or big company, when that kind of Jim Collins calls it hubris or yabang kung sa Tagalog, that's the start of your company coming to fall apart. Really, that's how it starts. So the first thing that I do is to make sure I'm learning something new. If not every day, if I don't learn every day, because there are days that I'm not able to listen to any podcast or read any book. But I do read the Bible every day, so that's something that I make sure to meditate on. But if I don't read or learn something new every day, I do it. I'm sure there's something new for me every week. That is sure, 100%. So I make it a habit to read a book or a lot of books. Right now, I'm reading Jim Collins' How the Mighty Fall. So it's actually quite time. This question is actually quite timely. It's a really good book. Tagal nang nasa library ko, but I haven't. It's just I really haven't gotten it, and I haven't read it yet. But it's been years in my library already, and right now I'm really enjoying this book. I am about to read The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. I am reading The Motive, which I ordered online. So, inuna ko yun kahit kaka-order ko lang. But yeah, so I'm continuously learning, reinventing myself. That's something that I do. Second is I make sure that the team is also encouraged to learn, and we have some initiatives for the team to learn new things and to grow and bond together as a team. Not just yung superficial bonding of, like Christmas party or just having game night. We do have that, but it's not it's on a deeper level, which is sometimes we do it via webinars or workshops or Q&As or simply one-on-ones with them. We do that as well. So that's another thing. And I realized that one thing that really is your one of the main competitive edges that a company has would be its number one, its leadership. That really does a lot. If your leadership is better than the other company, even if they have a head start in the market, even if they have good market share, good leadership can really outpace bad leadership, even if they're already way ahead. Second would be team culture. So in team culture is gonna be there whether you're intentional or not. Mabubuo at mabubuo yan. If you're not intentional, it it's a symbiote that just manifests itself. So sometimes you don't like your team culture. And that's because you didn't take initiative. You weren't intentional as a leader. And so the resulting culture is not good. It might be horrible for some companies, right? Toxic for some. I don't know, but the main thing about it is if you're not intentional about it, then it's not going to be shaped the way you intended it to be. And one of your main competitive edges that you can control, to be honest, is culture, your team culture, how you do things as a team. That's very important. So I make sure that I'm intentional in building team culture. And next would be the taking care of the team itself. A team that does not love what they do, that does not love each other, will not have ownership of their work, will not have ownership and responsibility of their mistakes. And if they don't have that, then they don't have authority, then they're not empowered. However, you want to equip them, they're not going to be empowered to do things. And it's like you're managing a team of 2 year olds, scared 2 year olds, right? And it's a source of frustration rather than a source of joy for a leader to manage that kind of team. And if you have that kind of team, you're definitely gonna fall behind your competition. You're not gonna be a step ahead or two steps ahead. So we make sure to take care of our team, take care of our people. Another thing that I do is I always pray and I ask God for help. I cannot do everything. I cannot foresee everything. It is beyond my power to do a lot of things. To be honest, it is beyond my power to do so many things about business, about the economy, about our clients, about competition. A lot of things are beyond me. I can only do so much. And so, one of the things that's very important that you get this is I pray. Prayer is one of the most important things I do. Is prayer a strategy to get ahead of business competitors? Uh, I'm inclined to say yes. I am inclined to say yes because it has done so much for me. Asking God for help and reflecting upon what I have and how little I am in the grand scheme of things and how little my decision making and efforts are in the grand scheme of things. So maybe the fourth one would be prayer and asking God for help. And lastly, I I would say one other thing I do to stay ahead of business competitors is to make sure my leadership team is also strong. So the first one I do is make sure that I'm a strong leader and I reinvent myself and I keep learning. The fifth one would be a strong leadership team. I'm not the one leading my entire team. 50 people, I can't lead all of that. I only lead a handful of people, maybe 12 people directly that I interact with. And the leaders in my team are the most important people in my team because they're the ones influencing the rest of the team, making decisions for the rest of the team, taking authority and responsibility for the rest of the team whenever mistakes happen, whenever we have wins, they're the first ones celebrating. Whenever there's some changes like this pandemic, they're the first ones to communicate to the team about the changes, the um, implicit impact of the changes that's gonna happen. So sorry for the noise. It's my kids super happy. I'm not. I don't stop them for being super happy. If you guys are hearing that, I apologize. No, but yeah, they're having fun. So yeah, that would be the fifth thing that I would say I do to make sure I'm ahead of my competitors. Second question is, how do you look for clients when it's hard to find them or them finding you? Can you share with us practical tips in marketing your product or service apart from SEO? I look for clients when it seems hard to find them. Well, I network. Really, I still do. Even in the pandemic, I don't go out often, but I network in a way where I still get invited to speak in events, nonprofits, schools, companies. I hold public events as well. I held public events via Zoom, and yeah, sometimes I charge, sometimes I don't, but I do get clients, I do get referrals. In any case, I put my name out there and my brand out there, and of course, when I put my name and brand and story out there, they get to know what I do, and that's SEO. So I get inquiries from that. That is a networking platform. Actually, this what I'm doing now, holding this leadership staff live, getting questions from you guys. This is one of the things that I do to put myself out there. This is going to be turned into a podcast, both in YouTube and on Spotify. We got over 1,000 followers now, thanks to you guys. Almost 1,300, I think. It's not a lot, but the podcast is just over a year old. We have almost 20,000 downloads, so that is something. But yeah, in terms we're strict about just making sure our KPI is the followers because those are people who really I think got hooked or found a lot of value from the podcast. Can I share with you some practical tips in marketing your service or product apart from SEO? Well, there's not a lot of things I think that you should focus on when it comes to marketing. Even if people say there's so many things you can do in marketing, yeah, that's right. There's so many things you can do in marketing, but I don't think you have to do a lot. I think in marketing you just have to market to your target crowd, to your target customers, and that's it. And for me, those are for SEO hacker. That's medium to enterprise level companies. They're marketing managers, they're C-level executives. That's our target market. So we're not going to go ahead and target anyone else aside from those people because if we do, that's a waste of time and money and effort on our end. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to focus on our target market. Wherever they are, we have to be there. And we found out that marketing managers, C-level executives, they search on Google. So we have to, of course, rank ourselves. Plus, it's practicing what we preach. So that's good integrity and creds for us if we actually rank for our target keywords and they find us through our target keywords. But here in the Philippines, B2B referrals also matter a lot. So I get a lot of people referring me to other clients or kakilala kakilala, and that does a lot for business because that those kinds of referrals are so much easier to close. So I do look for that as well. And how you get that is by doing an excellent job. When you do excellent job for your clients, they're gonna refer you no problem, and they're gonna refer you wholeheartedly to a lot of other companies out there. That is something that you should gun for, because if you get referred by big name clients that you've done excellent work for, it makes your job easier to close those deals as well. Next question is, do you have a good metric of what a good profit margin is in offering a service to keep the company running, especially if you're starting your business bootstrapping? I suggest that you should go for a 30% profit margin at least. And that's because from that profit margin, that's where you're going to get your advertising budget, marketing budget, bad debt, bad debt budget. If there was such a thing, like, you know, receivable na never mo nang na-receive, naging utang or nawala. Nawala, hindi mo na ma-bill, hindi mo na ma-invoice yung client, ayaw nilang magbayad. You have to set aside money for that. You have to have your war chest as well. If there's going to be legal problems that you're going to encounter along the way, you have to have money for that. So, not to mention your safety net. Sorry, parang emergency fund pero pang business. So you have to have all of these things. How are you gonna build it if your profit margin is too slim or too tight? Like 100%, 10%, 20%. For me, kasi that's too slim. That's too thin. It's difficult to build with a 10 to 20% profit margin. If you have 30%, I think that's a good starting point. If you can maintain 30% throughout, that's good. If you can increase profit margin by reducing costs or outright increasing your pricing because you have good branding, all the better. Fantastic. Okay, next question would be, how do you plan your goals for next year? Well, we could have Stratcom, which we didn't have, but we have ideas. We hold regular meetings. Me and my team, we meet every week. Execom meets every week, um, which usually some other companies, they just meet once a month. So sa amin, we meet once a week. Our team meeting or town hall meetings, we meet once a week. Leadership committee we meet once a week. Mancom meets once a week. So we have a lot of, actually, if you work in SEO Hacker or you have experience working alongside me or you tag along, you're gonna notice this, that we have a lot of meetings. And in those meetings, we have plans. We didn't lose our vision. This year was difficult to plan. It's difficult to plan for next year because we're still uncertain. One of the things that I learned this week is you get more stress from uncertainty rather than from a straight up no. And there's an example that John Maxwell, the podcast I listened to, states. He cited that when your flight is going to have a connecting flight, mas nasa-stress ka pa if you're uncertain about if you're gonna make it or not. Am I gonna make my connecting flight? I'm not sure because my flight now is delayed. Mas stress ka pa doon kaysa sa, okay, you're not gonna make your connecting flight. Kaysa sa alam mo na that you're not gonna make it. Pag may chance na you can make it, minsan mas nasa-stress ka pa. Iniisip mo pa if you can make your connecting flight, you're uncertain. So anyway, the podcast just makes a point that we're more stressed actually when we're uncertain rather than when we know that the answer is no, or the answer is we're denied what it is that we want to shoot for or gun for. So it's difficult to plan for next year because it's still uncertain. Yeah, we have the vaccine. Yeah, we think, or we can foresee that it's going to be here by sometime April. I don't know, but yeah, no one knows. No one knows how well the vaccine works. No one knows if there are long-term side effects. I I ran a poll on Facebook in a startup PH group, and a lot of people are actually not gonna take it yet. They're gonna wait and see for the first waves of people who are gonna take the vaccine on what will happen and if it's safe. They're gonna wonder if if there's a long term side effect. So a lot of people are actually not gonna take it yet when it comes here. So I don't know how that's gonna affect how fast the virus will dwindle. I'm not sure, but knowing that, we can be certain that it's gonna be still a lot of uncertainty in the near future. So it's tough to plan for next year, but there are definitely goals that we have, which is we want to go back to what we were hitting pre-pandemic period. The deals we were closing, the clients we were getting every month, we want to go back to that. I think that's a humble goal already. If we could get back on that, That would be perfect. What next question would be, what are the steps you usually do when the year ends to improve the performance of your company for next year? Well, we benchmark how well we did in terms of, so I'm in the business development team. I close deals. So I look at how many clients I closed this year and the revenue that I brought in. And then I have a higher target for next year. Obviously a higher target. It always has to be a higher target. So that makes my job more difficult on top of managing people, leading them, giving them feedback, encouraging them, etc. Ganun talaga eh. All companies, they want to stretch, they want to improve, they want to grow, they want to keep moving the bar higher. How will you, so I'm moving to the next question. How will you celebrate Christmas in the office during this pandemic? We're having an online Christmas party, right? So that's gonna be on Zoom on the 18th. And what we did, so my HR and my COO, they just planned on having an exchange gift. So we did draw names, online random name drawing, and we sent our exchange gifts already to each other via e-commerce. And so there's a wish list there. We bought the gifts. We sent them to each other. I received mine just today, and we leave it unopened, and we will open it on our digital Christmas party this 18th. I don't know how it's gonna go. I'm not in the planning committee. That's entirely my HR and my brother planning that. Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna go, but that's gonna be our Christmas party this year. Hopefully next year we have something better, or we have a face-to-face Christmas party already. Next question is, how do you unwind and de-stress? A lot of ways. One of the ways would be going to my backyard where I have my aquariums and my tilapia pond and my grow bed where I grow basil, lettuce, and arugula. Arugula is not doing so good. I did some adjustments with the grow light, so yeah, a lot of them died. But yeah, I am planning to reseed that. And other things I do, I watch a movie streamed in my TV, and or I play a computer game. That is how I. And if I wanna unwind to sleep, I read books. So that's my time to read. I talk with my wife. That's our time together. Or we take a walk outside if it's not raining in our subdivision with the kids. So we take a family walk outside. That's how I unwind and de-stress. Next question would be, given that the COVID vaccine is coming early next year, hopefully, do you think we need to shift back the way we do business before, or would it be more efficient or wise to remain how we do business now? What would be the advantages or disadvantages? Well, I would say it's going to be a slow transition. You cannot, I think it's unwise to just flip the switch. And when we transition to work from home, SEO Hacker is an exception because we're already a work from home ready company. So when the pandemic hit, boom, we were ready for that. We already have our systems in place, and we could track everyone on how we work. Our leadership was able to adapt fast. We were able to get in touch with our personnel, our team pretty much every day. So it was not tough for us to flip the switch, and that's a bit cheating because my answer is you don't flip the switch kagad, no? But unless you're a work from home ready organization where you can just flip the switch on and off, I think you have to slowly transition it. And actually how we plan to do it in SEO Hackers to slowly transition. Meaning work from home kami. We've not gone into the office ever since March when the lockdowns happened. We didn't. I haven't gone there to work. Honestly, I chopped up my workstation from the office to set it up at home, which I'm using right now. But yeah, we're gonna slowly transition back to the office. So we plan to do like a 3-day office work day. Maybe we're gonna see if we still need 2 days in the office. If not, we might just work from home 2 days a week, and then weekends we don't work. So 4 days a week we're going to be at home. We're just going to be in the office 3 days a week. There is the question of waste in terms of rent, maybe electricity. So there is that question which we haven't addressed yet, but we're an innovative company. We have to experiment, right? That's the heart and root and foundation of innovation is experimentation. You just try it out, see what works. So we're gonna go ahead and see if it can work just going to the office for like 3 days a week. If we miss it, or if we see that there's really huge benefits in working there like 4 or 5 days a week, then we're going to transition slowly back to 4 or 5 days a week. If not, we might keep the 3 days a week. We're not yet sure, nothing's sure. So if some of my people are tuning in right now, do not think that that's certain. We're still talking about it, we're still going to try it out. So we're still not sure, but we're open to these ideas. What would be the advantages or disadvantages? Well, we could see the pros and cons already right now, where the pro is I did get some forgiveness for my rent. The con is I'm still paying rent, right? So I'm still paying like a good amount of rent and not using the office at all. And that's 2 floors that I rented out. So that's the con. The pro is I don't pay a lot of electricity. It's a commercial space, so of course I have to pay the base Meralco bill pa rin. But other than that, I don't pay a lot of electricity or utility, water, tissue paper, and office stuff. I don't pay for a lot of those things anymore. We get to save money that way. My people get to save money by not having to commute. They save time by just being at home. Um, Another pro would be we're a lot less distracted when we work from home. Usually we have more focus. Cons would be physical interaction, synchronization. We're not that synchronized when it comes to thoughts. Meetings are less focused because there's a lot of things happening at home, happening in the screen. So sometimes people are working while in a meeting, which is not good, by the way. When you're in the meeting, you should be in the meeting. But that's not to say I'm not guilty. I am guilty of sometimes working during a meeting. So those are pros and cons, and we would all have to check how it's going to pan out and try things, test things once we try to get back to our office. Will you still use Zoom even post pandemic? I hope so. For a lot of my client meetings, I hope that they are still agreeable to just Zoom. I hope that it's one of the changes that would stick actually after the pandemic, because oh man, pre-pandemic, I would have like 3 days a week, 3 days a work week, and we only work 5 days, right? But 3 days a work week, I'd be out on the road having like 2 to 3 meetings every day. And 2 to 3 meetings every day, yun lang kasi yung kaya sa traffic eh. Hindi mo na kayang mag 4 meetings, that's impossible already. And then after the 2 to 3 meetings that day, I would still go back to the office and have to log in my work that day. So you could imagine how much work and time that eats up from me. And so if we're gonna have the Zoom calls rather than the face-to-face meetings, maybe we could do face-to-face like once a month or once every 2 months. But if we can keep the Zoom meetings, that would be amazing for me. I would just be able to get more stuff done. But Zoom meetings for my internal team, I think we might throw it out because meeting face-to-face meetings work a lot better pa rin, especially for internal meetings. From Len, yeah, so thank you for that, Monster Wings. Thank you for that, Patrick, for those questions. We have a question from Len. Do you have a mentor? Yes, I have mentors. So we don't meet often anymore, but I did learn a lot from my mentors. If yes, can you share to us how did you find them? How I found them? All right. So often they're in my network already, and I know that they're experts in that area where I want to grow in. So I just reach out to them. Maybe I offer to buy them lunch or dinner and just ask for like an hour of their time if they can spare some for me. I also plan to give them value. That is something that I always seek to do. So, for example, I know that they need a website or they need digital marketing help. I help them with their digital marketing. I give them a free audit. I tell them where they can also improve. So, it's like a trade. I also mentor them in a way in areas where they know I am good at or better at. And see, a lot of leaders, they want to learn, they want to keep learning. So usually the mentors that I pick are also leaders who have that strong desire to learn. Because I know I can learn more from them. And ang nangyayari, because they are strong leaders, they also ask me questions. And they also ask me to give them some mentorship. And often these are older men who are doing this. So you can imagine how humble they are by asking a younger guy like me to give them mentorship with regards to digital, with regards to business, with regards to leading millennials and centennials. We learn from each other. It's tough to ask mentorship from people na wala kang ambag. But there are some mentors who will willingly give you help, assuming that these mentors are, they have time to spare naman, or they're semi-retired or going there, or the business doing well, they're not that hands-on anymore. They are willing to mentor. You just have to pray for them and pick them and make sure you keep on seeking their advice, and also make sure that you follow their advice, because if you don't follow their advice, you're just wasting your time, and you're just wasting his time or her time as a mentor. Because you're not following the advice. You might as well just, be friends, and yeah, that's it. If you enjoy each other's time. But don't ask him or her to mentor you kung di mo rin susundan yung sinabi niya. Will you recommend to have more than one mentor? Yes, but only have mentors in the area that you really want to intentionally grow in. Don't have mentors just for the sake of having mentors. Be intentional with your mentors. I wanted to grow in my public speaking area, so I asked Jason Law to help me out in that area. And what happened is I learned a lot from him. So that's something that you can learn from. And so with Jason, he actually sat in some of my talks and gave me some advice, good advice, and I learned from him. So that's one. David Bonifacio. There was one or two times that I sat down with him asking for mentorship. I learned a lot from that guy. He sold his first company. I asked him, why did you do it? What's the pros? What's the cons? What are you doing now? What are you doing with your team? How do you feel being part of the board? I have no experience in these things. I've never sold a company. SEO Hacker is still fully owned by me. I don't have a board. I have Mexicom, which is family, my wife, my siblings. So I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn how it is, how it works when you have equity, when you didn't sell 100% of your company. How much do you sell it for, per share, per stock? How do you evaluate that? So I learned a lot from them. The stuff I know now, that people are wondering how I know them because I have no experience in selling a company or getting investors, is because of, well, I do a lot of research as well on Google, but I have these mentors who help me out and teach me the real things. So I have more than one, depending on the area that I want to learn and grow in. Okay. Follow-up question. However, it somehow confuses us because of different shared perspective, but on the brighter side, you weigh them and only absorb those you find. Yes, so you find those who are better than you. Doesn't, for me, it effective for you or fits your personality, that's all right if they fit your personality better. But learn from people who are better than you in areas you want to grow in. If you don't want to grow in becoming a better tennis player, then why look for a tennis mentor, right? So only on the areas you want to grow in, be intentional, because that's your time and that's your mentor's time. Speaking of personality, do you think we have to change ours just to fit in, for example, in a company or a team? Well, if it is a personality that is distasteful, that a lot of people tell you you should change, I think you should change it, because, well, we want to get along, don't we, right? But if it is a personality that you think is a pleasing personality to a lot of people, to you, is pleasing to God, pleasing to your family, then I don't think you should change that. Now, I think that people would only tell you to change or to make you feel like you should change something if it is distasteful or dishonorable, or it's something that's not nice about us. And in those cases, I think we should change it. And even if they don't tell it to us, but we know we should change something about us, I think we should, because That's how you live life. You have to keep on improving. You have to keep on changing. Our goal is to become more like Christ, right? So that's our goal as human beings, to become more like Christ. And if that takes adversary, if that takes a lot of hard work, we have to go through that. I have a question from Jazz. I have a friend who works in the US. They only meet thrice a week in the office. Do you plan on inviting guests here at Discord? All right. So yeah. Oh, it's a comment. Yeah, they only meet thrice a week in the office. Yeah, so that's something that we're looking at when the vaccine is here and when the pandemic's dying down. We're looking at, or maybe has died. I don't know. We can wait it out because it's no problem for us working at home, really. Um, yeah, so we can wait it out. I have had guests here. I had Juan Carlo JC Del Rosario of Juan Carlo Catering Philippines, the one of the best wedding catering companies here in the country. So I have invited him. I actually, there is something that I actually wanted to show you guys tonight, but I don't have it with me. Apparently, I forgot it here. We're going to be running a promo for that in SEO Hacker. So we're gonna raffle off something from Fukuda Philippines and HeartMed, um, which is a PPE company that we signed on as a client. So look forward to that. I don't have the stuff here. Sayang, no. It's a Bluetooth speaker, wonderful. I use it. I have two of them actually. That's how great they are from Fukuda, and we're gonna raffle it off. Maybe next week I'm gonna remember to get it. Nakakaya naman ngayon live kukunin ko ano maghihintay kayo dito. But yeah, so it's a Fukuda Bluetooth speaker. We're gonna raffle that one off. I don't know if I can invite the owner as the guest, but he's a good friend of mine. His name is Gilbert. So I don't know if I can invite him here, but I learn a lot from him actually on our one-on-ones whenever I'm in his office. We have a meeting. I learn a lot from Gilbert, and I'm sure you guys will as well. I also had Marvin Guermo here. And I have a couple of others actually. Di ko lang, yeah, di ko lang naaalala to follow up with them, but they have already given me their yes. No, Randall Tiongson has given me his yes. I have to remember to PM them when day is arriving, or maybe I'll ask my assistant to actually book them para hindi ko na makalimutan. So Randall is a personal finance coach. Actually, some of you guys might know him. He's also the ninong of Marvin sa kasal. Actually, if you know, I'm sure you guys know Marvin Guermo. So Randall is a good friend of his, a good friend of ours. Do you also consider getting the vaccine? Personally, here's how I think. I think that if so, I'm a guy who plays it safe. I'm just at home, and I don't go out when I don't need to. So very safe. Bilang lang sa kamay actually. The times that I went out from my house ever since March. So I really don't go out. So I think I can wait it out rather than get the vaccine. There are some people who can wait it out. No, that we don't go out, and we don't go out naman. How do I get my groceries and wet market meats and vegetables? If you're wondering, well, my driver does it for me. So he just delivers it, drops it off in the garden. Doon naaarawan. So it gets some sun. I think the virus dies from the sun out there for like, I don't know, 30 minutes, and then we bring it in. That's how we do it. So I think vaccine for me not necessary. Actually, I'm more of like a guy who just plays it super safe. So I think people who should get the vaccine are people who are a lot riskier than I am. They go out, they eat out, they go to mass gatherings. I never went to a mass gathering even with my organization JCI Manila. We had our GMM. I wanted to support some of my friends. Some of them were graduating from the organization, but I couldn't because I'm going to risk my family. I just can't have that. I'm not saying they're sick or they have the virus. The event went well. There's nothing that happened there, so thank God for that. But we just don't know, right? So I'm a guy who plays it safe. So I think in my case, getting the vaccine, maybe an afterthought. Maybe an afterthought. But that's because I have no need to go out there and risk myself. My work, I can stay at home, no problem, 100%. Yeah, that's what I think. That's my answer for that. No. But for those people listening here who are a lot riskier, please do consider getting the vaccine. That's what I think. So yeah, that's all the questions we have for tonight. It's 8:42. We ended early. Wonderful questions. Thank you, Len, Jazz, Patrick, Monster Wings. Thank you for being here tonight and for asking the questions. And I'll see you next week. Cheers.